if you encourage young people just to have sex with the first person they meet and stay with that person, which I'm not saying you're saying, but I am saying if you don't have sex before you're engaged, well, engagement leads to marriage, you may end up with very little sexual fulfillment.
I think this feminist response is very revealing of the mainstream view that feminists have about sex, which is generally that the more sex, the better. This is something that one of the panelists said in an earlier part of this debate. The early feminists were, when they were writing about what they believe women should be fighting for, a lot of them spoke from a lot of trauma. And so, what trauma gives you is a sense of conflict. It's as if the world is either or, that either there is freedom or there is slavery, either there is joy or there is unhappiness. You kind of go into a fight or flight mode. The reason that I'm saying all of this is because if you watch the video, Debra talks about how she has been in a cult, and one of the ways in which she's trying to recover is in her sexual life. And so you can kind of tell that all her arguments are very much coming from the place of I have been really hurt in the past and I'm trying to course correct, and this is the way I believe it is to be done. And so the problem with that worldview is that it's not catered to reality, it's catered to your inner trauma, it's catered to how you feel inside, it's not indicative of what reality actually looks like. And so a lot of her arguments seem to be working in favor of those who've suffered in a way that she has. And I have a lot of sympathy for her in some ways, because to me, she kind of represents the average woman in the Me Too movement, going through all the Me Too cases that were being leveled at all these awful men. It really did feel like, my God, the world is basically oppressor and oppressed, and I know which side of history I lie on. That is why I think, if anything, we should see the Me Too movement as a kind of revelation into the worlds of women who've been harmed by men. They simply don't have a holistic worldview. They simply don't have a sense of, I can work with men and thrive. The thing with Debra is that this is something you will notice with a lot of women who read a lot of feminists. It is that instead of being more discerning about what to take from them and what to disregard, what you will notice is that a lot of women tend to imbibe the trauma that they read about. Instead of me separating myself from, okay, that is an awful thing, but there is the world outside of that awful thing, what ends up happening is that we end up empathizing with them to such a great degree that anything that they say that they believe is the solution to avoid such awful things happening to you or others in their life, you kind of start to listen to them, because it's like, okay, so this person has been through something bad. This is the solution that they offer. I should listen to that solution because this woman knows better than I do how to avoid said bad thing. And I think that is pretty much the problem with the genre of testimony itself. We rely way too much on private testimonies to derive solutions or derive insight. And the way to deal with testimony is to see it for what it is. That, of course, the person is telling you about what they think is right, but it is necessarily tarnished by the pain that they've been through. And we all know that if someone is in pain, what they are really telling you is, please help me. More than anything, that's what they're telling you. Which is not to say you should dismiss any advice they may have for you to avoid certain pain, but it is also to take it with a grain of salt, to understand that, okay, she may be right or she may be wrong. She may just be completely biased. Maybe we need to make up our own ideas about what it means to be a woman. Maybe we need to be more grounded in reality and less in trauma. Maybe that's where the answer lies.